Here in Calgary, Don Maloney, the president of Hockey Ops, was talking with Flames TV, their online stuff yesterday or the day before, talking about amateur meetings coming up, amateur scouting meetings in a couple weeks. They hope to have a GM in place by then. A couple weeks being a little vague, but it's a couple weeks. So I don't know how many teams, if they want to talk to the Carolina GM, there's some teams that are still playing hockey. This due diligence and the search that they want to do, is it going to be? Are you going to get to talk to everybody you want in the next 2 weeks, or what do we expect here?
Yeah, I think their process is beginning to ramp up. I think there's, as we've talked about, some easy internal interviews to consider. Craig Conroy, Brad Pascal, I think is going to get an interview as well. Um, you know, I've heard it and I've seen the report about Stan Bowman likely being in the mix, and he is subject to the same penalty as Joel Quenneville, that he will need a commissioner's approval before being able to return to the NHL. I don't anticipate any issue there. There's a lot to unpack with Stan Bowman, but he has done the work. He's been working hand in hand with Sheldon Kennedy and the Respect Group, getting a lot of their stuff off the ground in terms of junior hockey and the landscape there. You can dig in and find out more, and I will report it at some point. But Stan Bowman has put in a ton of work behind the scenes to be ready to get back in. And then we'll see how wide of a net they cast in terms of other people that they'd like to speak to. It's heating up. It's going to begin to heat up.
So I imagine the Sheldon Kennedy piece is a massive one, given that this feels like a PR disaster if that stuff isn't going on, and it may still be, even if that stuff that you're reporting is happening has happened. He was a pretty central figure in the sexual assault or abuse scandal, however you want to call it. No,
he was, and I think. Look, I've done my own reporting and due diligence. I've had conversations with the people that were involved, and I have a real good understanding and feel for what happened and what didn't. Some of that is their own story to tell, but I can give you the quick sort of Cole's Notes version in case anyone is curious and in case anyone is critical of what may play out next. I think when you read it and try and boil it down, the report from Jenner and Block that came out about the sexual abuse of Kyle Beach, it sounds gruesome and it sounds horrible, but that's not necessarily what people knew at the time then. And I can tell you with a great deal of confidence on my own end that that's not what Stan Bowman knew, and that's not what Joel Quenneville knew. The stuff about, Kyle Beach essentially being held at baseball bat and coerced into doing sexual acts with a video coach. That's not what those guys were told in the moment in 2010. They were essentially, to paraphrase, told that, quote, something weird happened between a video coach and a player. And in the same meeting, without any more details being transpired or told, they were also told by their president and CEO, John McDonough, I'll handle this. I got it. They were in game 5 or 6 of the Western Conference Final. It's 2010, trying to advance to their first Stanley Cup final in however long. And when your boss tells you he's got it and you think something weird happened, but you don't know what it was, I'm not absolving Stan Bowman or Joel Quenneville by any stretch of the imagination. They have an obligation to ask more questions and follow up. I also think the attitude and time was a little bit different then. But when you're told those things, the first time that they actually read and heard how gruesome it was when the report came out. So I think it's real dangerous to want to cast dispersions. I'm not saying that they should get off scot-free. I also think that we need to have a larger conversation as a society about what the proper penalty is. That, I don't believe these people should be handed death sentences, that they should have the ability to not work again. They weren't the ones doing the abusing. They weren't the ones, I believe, propping up an abuser. They were told a very certain thing, And that's what played out. So I'll leave it at that. That's my understanding of the situation if it were to come up again with Stan Bowman.